This guy makes $500,000 from his local newsletter. And the crazy thing about it is that the entire newsletter is almost fully automated. Today, I'm going to talk about the technology and the processes that made this possible. The newsletter we're talking about is Salina 311, which is the local newsletter for Salina, Kansas. Salina 311 is created by Moody, a serial entrepreneur with a background in ML and AI. In 2024, Salina 311 did $400,000 in revenue, and in 2025, it's on track for $500,000. Now, what makes this possible when most local newsletters are struggling to even hit six figures in revenue? Well, Salina 311 does 5 things very differently from most local newsletters. First, Salina 311 uses Ghost and not Beehiiv. Second, Salina 311 automates almost all its content. Third, Salina 311 has 2,500 paid subscribers. This is in contrast to most local newsletters, which are operating primarily on an advertising model. Fourth, Salina 311 has an events calendar, which brings in about $1,000 per month through featured events. And fifth, and maybe most interestingly, Salina 311 also operates as a print newspaper. So first, let's discuss why Salina 311 uses Ghost and not Beehiiv. Now, some of you may not be familiar with Ghost. It's a competitor to WordPress, which arose due to journalists and other people feeling that WordPress is getting overcomplicated. We want something that's more streamlined just for having articles, email newsletters, and collecting subscription revenue. Now, the main reason why Salina 311 uses Ghost and not Beehiiv is that Ghost allows users to publish content by API, whereas Beehiiv does not. For Matt, this was a major blocker to potentially using Beehiiv because he's an ML and AI guy, and he was right there thinking, all right, how do I automate it? With Beehiiv, you can't really automate anything. Now, as I said, most of Salina 311's content is AI generated. So if you go here on Salina 311's website, you'll see that the author that shows up the most is a fellow named George. So George is the default AI author of every article in Salina 311. There are 2 agents, AI agents, which are responsible for a lot of the content: the public meetings agent and the interview agent. The way the public meetings agent works is that it finds a transcript of a public meeting, let's say on YouTube. It identifies from that transcript, which was either grabbed from the subtitles directly from the video or transcribed with something like OpenAI's Whisper model. It identifies the important points of each meeting. Then it creates headlines for each important point, writes the story using the transcript and that headline, and sends it to Ghost, and then Matt gets a text notification for review. And if it's okay, straight to being published. Now, some people are opposed to AI content. They think that it's unethical, but I feel that this is actually quite ethical and quite good for local communities, because ordinarily, who's going to have the time or the energy to sit through hours of boring community meetings? Whereas if you have an automation like this available, it's both something that is valuable to a local community and it's very scalable. So I think that this is a great thing that Matt has put together. Additionally, Matt has created an interview agent. So if you go on Salina 311's website, you'll see all sorts of interviews like this one, where Salina 311 speaks with Jacob Wood, newly appointed Salina City Manager. Now, what's interesting is that these interviews are actually all being conducted async by email. Matt has created an agent which uses the Gmail API to handle the back and forth with the interviewees, and he's able to get a 90% response rate to interview requests, which are also automated by AI. Now, the public meetings agent and interview agent are only one part of Salina 311's content automations. They additionally publish automated crime statistics using some sort of scraper they've developed, and they also publish obituaries, which are also being captured through some automated process. In contrast to a lot of other local newsletters, Matt creates almost no social media content. The only thing that we really see is reposting of some of these automated stories on Facebook, and I presume that these postings on Facebook are also being automated. So how does Salina 311 monetize? Well, there are 4 primary monetization streams. First, there's subscriptions, which are both digital and print. Most Salina 311 subscribers are digital, but most subscription revenue is through print. Print costs per month what digital costs per year. And so even though 70% of Salina 311's subscribers are digital, most of the subscription revenue is coming through print subscribers. Additionally, Salina 311 operates an events calendar, and if you want your event to be featured and you want to guarantee that it'll also be included in the newsletter, then you have to pay. This is bringing in a non-trivial amount of money, about $1,000 a month, to Salina 311. Additionally, just like most local newsletters, Salina 311 also captures advertising revenue, and they're pretty much booked out. So here we can see the advertisers in the month of August, for example, and on basically every date in August, they have advertisers booked out in the top slot in the newsletter. And because Salina 311 has these automations in place to create content, first, that creates a ton of advertising slots, which a weekly newsletter wouldn't have. And second, because the content is automated, it frees up the business to focus more on thinking about both new ways to monetize and on selling out advertising slots. Now, something very interesting about Salina 311 is that it operates as a print newspaper. And as I said before, 70% of subscription revenue is coming through the print side. But there's a lot of costs and a lot of infrastructure involved in creating a print newspaper, and so that's not really enough to motivate him to create the print edition. What is motivating, though, is a source of revenue, which is present in many states across the United States. Many states have arcane regulations which mandate that local governments must choose some newspaper in their town in which legal notices get published. And Matt went through a competitive process to get his newspaper/newsletter selected as the newspaper of record. He won that, and as a result, he gets a fixed fee, which initially was somewhere under $50,000 in his first year, but this year is getting close to $100,000, which is just a fixed payment from the county, in exchange for which he has to publish both legal notices, which are coming from the county, and public notices, which are coming from the community. So what Matt's been able to put together through his content automations is the ability to serve a local community with locally relevant content, but with few human resources. Now, you're not going to get the kinds of articles that you see in the New York Times or the Atlantic, but small local communities can't sustain that level of intensive journalism. But they still want to know about local crime statistics when somebody they cared about but have gotten out of touch with has died, and basic public relevant things that are said in town meetings but which nobody has a time to listen to. And so what Matt's trying to do now is scale out horizontally by taking the software he's developed and putting it into a software as a service, which he calls Fractals. And so what Fractals does is basically provide these automations that he's produced as a software. And the software is pretty expensive. Like, for me, I wouldn't personally use it because I can do a lot of these automations myself. But if I was in a place where I thought, look, I've got this growing business, I've hit low 6 figures, but I'm having trouble scaling, or especially if I'm a traditional local media company in a smaller local community, I think this is a massive bargain, because think about how much a reporter would cost to sit through, say, a town meeting and create 5 stories a week. Like, that's quite expensive, full-time employee, health insurance, etc. You can get that for $300 or $500 a month, massive bargain. Now you can invest back into advertising and other types of content for your community. And so I hope you guys enjoyed seeing what I think is the future of local media. It's really about automating. And so in the next few articles and videos I put out here at Content Quant, we're both going to study different models in local media that are much different from Matt's, but are still doing quite well. And we're going to be studying other kinds of automations, both on the advertising sales and content that you guys can apply yourselves. So with that, if you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe, and thank you.